Welcome into the Beachside Blitz. I am your host, Patricia Caputo, where we surf the wave of sports on Cape May Radio, WCFA 101.5 FM, the radio station for the Center of Community Arts, Cape May. We have a whole lot for you on the show today, including two special guests, Mr. MJ Frazier, a South Jersey native and former LSU and North Carolina A&T football player, along with Julian Jackson, a New York native from Northwestern Oklahoma State. They will be joining us shortly, but before we get into those interviews, let's start off with our first segment of What's the Scoop. This week in Cape May, there was a cornhole tournament. It's an annual cornhole tournament, the Cape May Invitational. It was the fourth time this year they were doing this, and it has grown tremendously over the last few years. I got to speak with the commissioner, Colin Hassey, for a few minutes, and he was able to explain the dynamic to me that the first year he did this, it really just started off with a few of his friends and him. He threw it together very quickly in his backyard. I know that one of the moms made homemade meatballs, so you can't beat that, especially if you're from New Jersey. But it was great. It took off rapidly. So then they've decided to do this every year. And being there, it was something that I had never experienced before, that cornhole is rapidly growing, especially when it's the summer and you're at the beach. But Vatican City won. And to further explain that, what they do at this tournament is they have countries that compete against each other. So Germany had won last year. They lost in the Sweet 16 round this year. And one of the players that defeated them said, this is what makes cornhole so great, because you can be 5 years old, you can be 80 years old, and you can play cornhole just about anywhere. But also with that, Vatican City won the tournament. They defeated Ireland. This is the second year in a row that Ireland lost in the finals, so not too great for them. But what Colin Hassey said, the commissioner, was that he loved that there were 40 teams this year. Last year he got to just 32. He's been hoping to get to 40, and he just wants to continue to keep growing this. It's seriously in a backyard in North Cape May, New Jersey, and we mentioned last week on the show how small all of the towns were, and that just goes to show that, because it felt like a family reunion of everyone who went to high school, whether it was Wildwood Catholic or Lower Cape May Regional. There was everyone there. I got to meet a bunch of new people. So truly was a great time, but also just to speak on the sports aspect, that there are so many other sports than just the basics that you think of baseball and basketball, that cornhole is truly taking off, especially in a beach area just like Cape May. Also, to finish up with What's the Scoop, one fun fact: if you tuned in last week, we interviewed two very special guests, Miss Betty Marshall, the marbles coach of the Wildwood and Cape May County teams. She ended up telling me through email that she played volleyball with Alyssa Ferrante, who came on and spoke last week. Her dad was responsible for starting up the Lower Cape May Regional volleyball team, and she said that, yes, I played volleyball with him back in 1985 at the Lafayette School. So such a small world. We talked about that with Alyssa last week, about how truly small this town is, but that just goes to show there was no correlation there, as I thought. Turns out there was a correlation. That's all we have for What the Scoop last week. Let's transition into our next segment, Seaside Sit-Downs, with very special guest, MJ Frazier. How are you doing today, MJ?
Good. Appreciate you for having me.
No, we're so happy to have you on. You all took the drive, so I really do appreciate that. You said there was a little bit of traffic, typically Cape May traffic, for sure. But let's start off as you don't play college football anymore. So how is life treating you after college football?
I mean, it's great. It took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do. So I was bouncing around from job to job. I really wasn't sure what direction I wanted to go into. And it's a funny story. I met this guy at Chickies and Pete's one day, and it just so happened that he hired my mom as a principal in Atlantic City, and he hired my godmother as his secretary. And then he was like, I really think that you would be good in the teaching profession. So he was like, you might as well like give it a go and see if you like it. So I started off subbing in the school. I was doing that for about like 2 months. And then after that, I transitioned to, he gave me like a more long-term position where I started teaching a class, English, accelerated 7th and 8th grade English. And I transitioned to that, and I did really well. So they want me to, come back next year and actually get like a contracted job. So
that's so great. And you had mentioned that you were kind of just thrown into the mix.
Yes,
right?
100%. Yes.
What did you think when you were playing football that you were going to do that?
I mean, everyone has dreams and aspirations of playing pro football, and I kind of saw the writing on the wall toward the end of my career that it wasn't going to happen. So I kind of wanted to figure out what I wanted to do. I got my bachelor's degree in liberal arts, so I knew like I would have to do something around English, the English field. My dad's a state trooper. I was like, do I want to be a state trooper? But I just kind of wanted to, I didn't know what direction I wanted to go in. And, God, he put me exactly where I needed to be.
That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. And like you mentioned, you have some plans to continue to teach. But let's go back a little bit to when you first started playing college football, when you knew you were having this opportunity. What we don't talk about, at least as fans, I know you've been through it, but I have not been through it. So can you discuss the commitment process and all that goes into, I know it was many moons ago, but all that goes into that?
I mean, it's definitely dedication. You basically have to listen to different rules, different things that you like. It's a whole different ball game than high school football. There's meetings that you have to attend. There's mandatory lists. There's all these things that you have to do, even when you're tired, and it doesn't really matter like what they like how you feel. It's really what they say. So you gotta thug it out basically.
And North Carolina A&T was the first school you committed to, is that right?
Yes.
How was the process with that? Talking to those coaches? Were they coming to your house? Were they making promises to you? How did that go?
They did. They didn't come to my house. It's a HBCU, so it's a smaller Division I school. So they really weren't doing the things that SEC schools and the bigger schools do. But they made promises to me that I was gonna be the guy. I was gonna start at tight end, and they held their end of the bargain for the most part. I did pretty well over there. We were just more so a run first offense, and that wasn't my specialty. I was more of a receiving tight end. So, but I loved the school. The coaching was good. I had a lot of great connections with the players. I still talk to them today. So I was really blessed for the opportunity to be able to go there. So I was really happy about that.
That's so great to hear, because we talked about this last week on the show with the Texas A&M head baseball coach. And I don't know if you heard about that, but he just kind of dipped after saying 24 hours before that he would never leave and that he's committed.
Exactly.
So I'm glad that you didn't have to go through that, because I always wonder what goes through a player's head when that happens, when their coach is saying, I'm loyal and I'm going to be here, and then they leave and that doesn't happen. And there's that turnover aspect. But when you decided, how did you narrow it all out that like, okay, you're going to North Carolina A&T, and then you decided to transfer? What was that process like?
So after North Carolina A&T, I told you we were a run first offense. I felt like my skill set really wasn't being utilized. So I entered the transfer portal. I got a couple of decent offers. I had like Temple, Jackson State, Bowling Green, a couple offers like that. And then I was talking to one of the recruiting coordinators. He was at Louisiana Tech, and he wound up going to LSU. He was like, your brother's already there. We love him. You might as well come over and play with your brother. And after like a lot of praying and talks with my parents, it's like when I was at North Carolina A&T, my brother was at Florida International. The commute was crazy. Like they had to go to my games and his games. It was a lot. So my parents thought that it was we thought that it would be the best decision for us to play in one spot. And I think that I made a really good decision. It didn't really go as well as I wanted it to go football-wise, but the connections that I made and the things that I learned from that school, like I wouldn't regret it. I don't regret it.
And talk more about that whole transfer portal process, because we're in a spot, I feel, especially with social media and how anyone can just say anything that they want, that a lot of people don't understand the transfer portal, and they say, well, these are just kids leaving because they don't like what they're seeing with the coaches and all that, so they leave. So what is your experience with the transfer portal and just the process of speaking with coaches and making the decision that's best for yourself to what I would say is clear the air for people who just don't understand it?
Well, it's hard to it was a difficult decision to enter the portal. I feel like I was comfortable at North Carolina A&T. Like I said, I had a lot of friends, X, Y, and Z, but I wanted to get my game to the next level. I wanted to go and play professional football. So when I went into the transfer portal, it was an experience. You're basically it's a gamble. You're putting your name and everything that you've worked so hard for on the line. And it was a gamble, but I talked to a lot of coaches. I mean, some coaches didn't offer, some did. It was really stressful, but I believe I made the right decision because, God makes no mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely made the right decision by entering the portal. There were coaches that in teams that I thought that were going to offer and they didn't. And it was, like I said, it was a stressful process, but I don't regret it.
And what was that like? Was it more like in-person sittings? Because what year was this?
This was 2021.
So this is like
2021,
like after COVID,
yes,
where everything's kind of still up in arms. So what was that process like? Was it a lot of Zoom or was it in-person letters? How did all that go?
Twitter is basically the big platform for, recruiting and stuff like that. Definitely phone calls, but they have dead periods. So sometimes you think coaches aren't interested, and just because of the dead period, they can't tell you that it's a dead period, but they were. But I would say it was mainly like Twitter and phone calls. I did a lot of phone calls. I actually met one coach. We went to like a local like food spot just to get food and just talk about the team and how he feels as though he can utilize me on his team. But I would say the main thing was basically phone calls, Twitter.
So tell us more about Twitter, which is now known as X. Tell us more about that. So they're DMing you, I'm assuming?
Yes. So basically, when you enter the portal, you post it to Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
You post your highlights, and what I did for my journey was I hit up every coach that I could find. Like I just hit up every Division I school that I felt as though I could play at, and it was just a gamble. So I sent them messages, sent them my film, and they either replied or they didn't. But it was. I got a lot of replies. I think I did pretty well in the transfer portal. I didn't get all the offers that I felt as though I should have, but everything happened the way it was supposed to.
That's crazy. I love to see how it's changed because I don't know if you heard about Josh Allen, that I believe he used to send the tapes to all the coaches because he never had an offer. Exactly. So it was like, here's my tape. You should watch it. You should watch it. And now it's just right at our hands, like right at the palm of our fingers of, okay, hey, here's the Twitter. And then, so you're also posting that on your story and you're DMing them?
Yeah, so I would post it on my actual page as a post, and then I would DM them as well and, just wait for a response.
That's crazy. That was something that I did not know. I didn't realize that. I knew some of it worked through Twitter just to see, but now it makes so much sense as to why so many players are posting this constantly on Twitter and not so much places like Instagram or maybe Facebook.
Well, back in the day, like when I was in high school, like out of high school, it was email. That was the biggest thing. Like,
right.
You would generate like a nice letter and then you would send your film through email. But times have changed.
Okay, but you're still using Huddle, is that right? And then, yes. So you're still using all of that and then just putting it together and then sending it.
Well, you're using whatever camera company that your school has. So you would use, I think we had DVS Sports or something like that, and I would just record it off of that and send it out.
Okay, gotcha. So when you went down to LSU, what differences did you see just being with your brother, with your parents, but also just going down to Louisiana, which I'm not sure if you've ever been?
Yeah, it was a culture shock. Definitely the weather. It was, oh my gosh, it was so hot down there. But like I said, the culture was different. I loved the food. The food was amazing down there. Everyone's so nice. It's definitely different than New Jersey. It's not the nicest, people can be a little rude, but it was, I enjoyed Louisiana. Would I consider living there in the future? No, just because of the heat and stuff like that. But love the people, love the culture, love the football program. It's an amazing program. Coach Kelly did an amazing job and is continuing to do an amazing job with that football team. So I enjoyed it.
I agree with you with the heat. For those of you who are tuning in and this is your first show, I also go to LSU, and that was a culture shock for me too. Being from New Jersey, the heat, I dread it every August. I have to go back down there. How did that fare with football in the heat? Were you outside or are you inside a little bit?
I mean, we had an indoor facility over there, but they wanted us to, adapt to the heat. So luckily for me, I had the 7 a.m. workout, so I was working out in the morning. I was doing all of our running and conditioning and things like that in the morning time, so it didn't affect me as much. I know my brother, he goes to LSU as well. I think his workout was like 1 o'clock, so he got to feel all that heat, but I was just blessed and fortunate to, have the morning workouts and things like that.
Yeah, that's horrible because I agree. I feel like I'm always cold here now living by the beach, that you always get that nice breeze. Louisiana, there is no breeze.
No breeze
at all.
The
best time, I would say November is the best time to go down there, right? Because it's not too hot, it's not too cold, perfect weather. You can wear jeans, you can wear a long sleeve.
100%.
It's perfect. Where you're freezing up here and you're laughing at everybody down there. That's what I would definitely suggest if you plan on going to New Orleans, wait till November or maybe even December. You can get a nice day in December there. Let's talk a little bit about the NIL process. I'm not sure how much experience you have with that, but especially just being at LSU and the players that you've interacted with. You were with Jaden Daniels, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So Jaden Daniels and Mason Smith and Jack Besh at the time before you transferred. What have you seen with that? Because that's another hot topic of debate where people don't do a lot of research on and they just want to say, oh, I know everything about it. So what have you seen just specifically with LSU and the transfer or the NIL?
I think that you basically make the money that you deserve. You know, like the big time players like Jaden Daniels, like he deserves that money. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I did like about Coach Kelly is that he made sure that everybody, scholarship and walk-on players, were able to, you know, get some sort of money. And I feel like a lot of schools didn't do that. But I think that the players, they deserve to be paid. Like we do a whole lot. We wake up early mornings, late nights. We do a whole lot for the school. And I think that we should be able to reap the benefits with, you know, putting a little bit of money in our pocket.
Again, I know with LSU, there's 102,000 people coming to see you all every week. Yes. So without you, there would be a very empty 100%. Tiger Stadium. And you could say that for just about every football stadium. Rutgers goes to show, all of them, right? Exactly. So I definitely agree with that. What's the debate, though, with, again, I just want to hear your opinion on this. Just, oh, these players are making too much money. They're getting scholarships with it, and they're millionaires by the time they get to college. Do you think that's ruining the aspect of professional football at any point?
I don't, because I feel like when you put money into a situation, that makes your players want to play harder. Mm-hmm. So, you know, everyone likes nice things. Everyone wants money. Everyone wants to show off what they got. So I feel like you putting money into the aspect and allowing players to make money on, like with that, I feel like that's good for the player. I feel like it's good for the university. I just feel like it's a good situation for everybody.
And backtracking a little bit, you came in right when Coach Kelly was hired. Is that right?
Yes.
What transitions do you think did you see or just hear from everyone that was so rapidly different from when Coach O was here, just with the new kind of, I don't know, adrenaline or culture, you could say, with Brian Kelly coming in?
Well, definitely with practice style. Coach Kelly, he likes to, you know, keep his players healthy for the game. So we didn't do that much hitting in practice, which I appreciated because it kept a lot of the players, you know, safe and stuff like that. I'm not saying that Coach O didn't keep his players safe, but I know that there was a lot of hitting and stuff like that in practice. His coaching style was a lot different. He was more of a, you know, hype type of coach. Coach Kelly's more of a laid back kind of coach. But trust me, he's going to get on you when he needs to. He's done that to me a couple of times. So, you know, but they definitely do have different coaching styles.
How was it with classes too? Because is it true that he was a lot tougher when it came to, oh, you're going to go to class at this time and there's going to be people who are coming in the rooms and making sure they're there and everything?
He didn't play about school. Like if you miss class, you're not playing.
And really? He was that strict?
Yes. That was, I mean, I feel like he kind of like, it depended on the player, but I feel like he was pretty, you know, he kept everybody basically doing the same thing. Like if you don't do the right thing, you're not going to be rewarded by playing because, you know, playing football is a privilege. It's not, you don't have to do it. So I feel like he was pretty good with that.
That was just a little bit that I saw with the few football players that were in my classes of somebody coming in, making sure, just peeking their head in, are they there? Are they there?
Class checks, yeah. He would do that all the time.
Which was something that, not to say anything about the other coaching staff, that just wasn't something I saw in my freshman year before when Coach Kelly was there. But credit to him also just being at Notre Dame, where they had that high standard 100%. Of you have to keep that GPA. And then all of a sudden at LSU, it's like, oh, what? No, school. And then, no, you're coming in and you're going to go to class, because he says this all the time. And most of the coaches do, that the goal is to get a degree. And if you can walk out of there with a degree, that's what's most important. That's kind of my mindset, where even if you do go out and play the professional level, look, even Tom Brady only played till he was, 40, 41 maybe? Yeah. But what are you going to do for the rest of your life? Nothing. I guess you could sit around, but I don't know. I'd be a little bored doing that. So I just think that I like that aspect, and I just feel that it's a lot more mellow, and just I think it shows in the field too that everyone seems more united.
Exactly.
And he's a little bit more stricter, but I like that. So you had mentioned that you're going to be a teacher, possibly sign that contract. Is that what life after football looks like for you?
Yes. I was kind of bouncing around. I didn't know. I wanted to do something around football. I didn't know if I wanted to do that at the collegiate level or if I wanted to do it at the high school level. So right now I'm actually teaching in the middle school, and more than likely I'm teaching English again next year. Hopefully I'm transitioning to being a gym teacher. That's ultimately what I want to do. But I'm also coaching at the high school. The high school is right around it. Well, it's literally it's walking distance. So I'm coaching receivers at the high school, and I'm also coaching. I'm also teaching in the middle school.
How is it working with all of the children and just seeing them every day and knowing the influence that you can have on them?
I mean, it's a blessing to see how you can change these kids' lives. Like, it's not an inner city school that I'm teaching at, but it's a school where the kids don't have a lot of direction. Their parents really aren't in their lives, and I feel like social media plays like a big role in that. And I feel like me being like a younger teacher coming in and showing these kids that there's more to life than the things that they see on social media, it just makes me feel so like good about myself, and just having that rapport with the students, like that's just everything to me, because I want to be the type of teacher that the kids come back in a couple of years and they're like, Mr. Frazier did X, Y, and Z for me, because that's I feel like that's my purpose for why I'm here.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I think with social media, it's really hard as a kid. I know I was kind of a late bloomer. I didn't have a phone until I was like in high school, but I had social media, just not, I had social media, I had Instagram and stuff, but my mom was always like, we got to look at it and make sure I'm not like,
I don't blame her, because what was going on in the world right now, she needed to be on.
It's scary. And now I just feel like it's worse. It used to be you could strictly follow your family and there's not ads here and there and looking stuff up, where I just feel like everything's so accessible, and unfortunately kids can be mean.
Yeah.
So I think that definitely just having somebody who is younger who could just be there is so important, and they're going to remember that more than you know. All right, we're going to wrap this up, but let's do All-Star Appetites. That's going to be the next segment. So you've been to a lot of places, as we were talking about. So I'm going to ask you about North Carolina, Louisiana, and New Jersey, of course. So let's start off with, what was your favorite food in North Carolina? If you have one.
I mean, I didn't really have. They kind of eat the similar things to New Jersey, so that wasn't like a big culture shock when it comes to food for me. Okay, so nothing comes to your mind. You're like, nothing. Not really. They had a couple of different restaurants that we didn't. What was that one restaurant called? I forget what it was called, but it was good. It had a lot of seafood. That's my favorite food, so I love seafood. Mm-hmm. All right, now Louisiana, transitioning over there. What food did you not know existed until you got to Louisiana? Crawfish. I had no idea. I've never seen that in my life or heard of it, but I had it. I was like, okay. It wasn't bad. Who taught you how to crack it and everything? My brother. Okay, so he already knew. We went, on my visit was actually the spring game of 2021 or 2021. And I was sitting there and I seen these little red things, and I'm like, ew, what is that? My brother's like, that's crawfish. And he was like, you just gotta take, like, crack it open, suck the head. And I was like, whoa, like, okay, that's how you do it. And it was actually pretty good seasoning. It wasn't bad at all. No, it's good. I actually like crawfish. The first time I went to a real crawfish boil this spring, and they were alive, and then they were no longer alive. I had never seen that. Usually they're prepackaged, and my church does one every year down in Louisiana. And that's fine for me, but no, these things were alive. I'm choking on the cayenne pepper. I'm 20 feet away from this thing. And I'm like, there's so much, but it was really great. And it was really traditional, where you stand up. I was with a bunch of strangers. Someone had invited me from church. I was like, I don't know half these people. I'm standing around eating crawfish with them. It's truly an experience that everyone should have once in their lifetime 100%. Because really community-based, really great, but definitely something that shocked me a little bit. For me, it was po' boys and alligator balls. Yeah, I don't know alligator balls. Yeah, they were good. Yeah, they blew my mind. But po' boys, that's the one thing that I miss up here. Yeah. The po' boys. We don't have that in New Jersey, right? Yeah. No. There's a few places, but they don't compare. Yeah. So that and jambalaya and stuff too, obviously. But I know my limits. All right, pizza. I don't know if you have the same idea I do about pizza, but I can eat it in New Jersey. But I'm going to ask you, because I don't want you to hear my opinion first. So can you eat it in a place like Louisiana? No. Okay. So you're just as picky as me. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, because I don't think I had pizza in Louisiana at all. Good. You saved yourself. Yeah, I don't think I had. I didn't want to try it. It's horrible. That was the first place I went when I visited LSU. I said, Mom, let's try the pizza.
And it was all right the first time, but maybe I was just there and it was hot and
Yeah.
raining.
Yeah.
The second time, once I went down there, I was like, I just go on a pizza fest. There is no eating
Well, I
pizza
mean, I
down
love
there.
Papa John's. They have Papa
No.
John's everywhere. That's my pizza spot. So.
So you're from New Jersey.
Yeah.
No, I can't. I'm spoiled. I'm spoiled because I know that I can get a homemade pizza right
Where you
here.
get your pizza from?
Any homemade place around here.
Uh-huh.
There's so much. I feel like there's a pizza block in every corner.
I
or
may
a
have
pizza
to try that.
stop, whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I just feel like there's so many places where I can't have chain pizza.
Yeah.
I'm spoiled.
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore because I like it special. I like it made with olive oil. I'm picky. I'm picky. I'm like, come on, guys. So I'm a little picky. But last question: do you call it pork roll or Taylor ham?
Pork roll.
Oh gosh. All right.
I never heard of Taylor ham.
You've never heard of that?
Never.
That's the biggest debate in New Jersey.
We call it pork roll. Where I'm from.
I never really had it until I was older, but my neighbor always called it Taylor ham, so that's what I did. But everyone, I told you all who's listening, I'm from Toms River originally, and they all called it Taylor ham. Excuse me, pork roll. And one time in my class, they looked at me sideways, like I had just committed a crime. They were like, "How dare you say Taylor ham?"
It's pork roll.
All right, fine. I guess you win that debate. All right. Well, thank you, MJ, so much for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time to come down here, deal with the traffic, and speak with me today. In just a few minutes, we will have Julian Jackson on. He's going to join us right after these messages. Support for Cape May Radio WCFA 101.5 FM and the Center for Community Arts comes from Orange Moose Golf Carts, providing rentals of 6-passenger premium golf carts. Open year-round and located at 110 Park Boulevard, West Cape May. More information is available at orangemoosegolfcarts.com. Support for Cape May Radio WCFA 101.5 FM and the Center for Community Arts comes from Good Sense, offering home and personal fragrance products and fine arts and crafts. More information is available at 327 Carpenters Lane, Cape May, New Jersey, and Good Sense, CapeMay.com. You are listening to Cape May Radio WCFA 101.5 FM, the station of the Center for Community Arts, Cape May. I'm your host of the Beachside Blitz, Patricia Caputo, where we surf the wave of sports, and we're back here with our second Seaside sit-down segment, where we have Julian Jackson joining us, who is both a track athlete and now a football player at Northwestern Oklahoma State University. So, Mr. Julian Jackson, how are you?
How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for coming on and dealing with the traffic here as well. So let's get into how you're originally from Brooklyn, New York. So we just had the All-Star Appetite segment. So I want to ask you, did you have the same culture shock going from Brooklyn, then you were in South Carolina for a while, and then a place like Oklahoma?
Oh, yeah. So the food in New York is not as seasoned as South Carolina. And then you go to Oklahoma where there's no food at all.
It's horrible. Okay, so what was your favorite food there? What did you eat?
In Oklahoma?
Yes.
I go to Chick-fil-A or something that's not like, so the food over there, it's just not my cup of tea.
What is it like there in general? I've never been to Oklahoma. I had a friend here last year from Oklahoma, but he said that it was kind of nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what it is?
Where the school is there's a lot of farmland. So you want to go to the store, you got to drive 20 minutes down the road just to get something. But it's nothing but, old towns, small towns and stuff like that. So there's no major cities unless you go to like Oklahoma City. It's like 3 hours away.
Oh, it was that far. Okay. Yeah, that is exactly what my friend told me, that there's just about nothing to do. His dad, I believe, was a coal miner. Like, seriously, you think of Oklahoma, you're like, yep, that's what it is. So I wanted to see if you had a different experience.
Oh, yeah. Same experience.
Same experience. Okay. Seems like all of Oklahoma is like that. Well, let's get into your athletic career. So first off, when did you start playing football and track?
So I started playing football like my sophomore year of high school, and I didn't know nothing about football. It was just the high school that I went to. My family relocated, went to South Carolina, and I didn't have no knowledge of it. I was a basketball player coming from New York. I mean, track, track was a little before that, maybe 2 or 3 years before high school. So just getting into that, I didn't really, know what I wanted to do yet. So got to high school, started playing football, and fell in love with it. That was what I wanted to do. Yeah.
Okay, so you played basketball before moving so then you got to South Carolina, and you were like, okay, I'm going to play football. Why did you leave basketball?
So the high school that I went to Nike Elite High School. It's called Great Collegiate, and yeah, I went to the tryout. I got dunked on, so yeah, it was bad eats from there. Uh, and then so I was walking out, and the football coach he seen me. So I don't know, I have no knowledge of football, going into high school. So he's like, "You ever played football before?" I was like, "No, sir." So he said, "Come to practice," and so I went to practice and seeing what was going on, and I enjoyed it. I was like, "Yeah, I'll give it a try." So we'll go from there.
Wow, that's so awesome because you don't hear that a lot where
Right.
it's just randomly in high school, hey, do you want to start playing football? But when was the moment that you realized that you could take this to the next level and play at the collegiate level?
I would say my junior year. That's when things really kicked in as far as God's grace and favor like really helped me as far as play the game. Like I started to fall in love with it, and with that, we was able to play it, at a good level. Started getting stars and started getting noticed and recognized for playing. So I fell in love with it then, and then it was on my heart as far as like I'm gonna go. We're gonna take this as far as where we're gonna go. That was great.
And I'll ask you the same question that I asked MJ earlier. What was your process like speaking with coaches, speaking with schools, and finding the school that was right for you?
All right. So my family, my grandmother's a pastor, so she's big on prayer about big decisions. So, we don't make any decisions off the cuff. We got to pray about it. So we spent time as far as trying to figure out what school was the best fit, those things. And once I got peace on it, I was able to, make that decision and go, as far as there. And I think that was the best way to do it because at a young kid, like you see so many schools, big time schools. Oh yeah, I like this one, I like that one. But, it doesn't, all that stuff is pretty, but until you find it as far as what purpose, what you're supposed to go to, where you're supposed to go, where God wants you to go, that's the best way to go.
So you started off at Methodist University, that's right?
Right. So went to South Florida, redshirted for a year,
Okay.
went there and, spent a season there. Then left there, went to Bethel. It's an NAI in Kansas, one of the top ones. So that was fun. That was an experience too.
So you've been to Kansas too?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Anything out there?
It's a little more than Oklahoma, but tornadoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
more tornadoes.
Really, more tornadoes. Barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
Barbecue is big out there, so other than that, it was a cool experience.
Being as many places as you have, how do you think you've developed relationships throughout the years, and have you been able to stay in contact with some of the players that you've grown to know?
Oh yeah. So just being out there, especially in the Midwest, you find it's a culture shock for most people. Coming from the East Coast. Me being from New York, going there, you start to realize you're like, wow, that's it's so many people from different experiences. So you get close to these guys. Like I had a roommate, his name was Tyler, and me and him are close. To this day, different perspectives of what life is. He's from the West Coast, so us meeting up there, you just we talk about it. It's great to have people like that.
Mm-hmm.
You see things from different perspectives. And, these are guys that you build relationships with for a long time. So
how is it with the teammate aspect? Because I know in the way we live, it's okay if we don't have the same perspective, it's really hard to be friends sometimes.
Right.
But so when you're trying to have a team together, how does that work? Where you have coaches that are saying, here's a bunch of different people from a bunch of different places with a bunch of different experiences in life, and now we all have to win football games or track meets together. How is that?
It's all like a recipe. You got different seasonings, whatever like that. You got a pot. You got to mix it all together. It's all understanding and communication as far as like I know he's from here. I know he's from here. He may take something differently than I can. So once you get that together, as far as that, you build a team that's unstoppable because everyone's doing it together. That's one recipe.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. That's better than I could have imagined you saying that. Yes, a recipe is the perfect way to put it.
Right.
So you have now made the decision to not run track anymore. Is that right? And now you're strictly focusing on football.
Right.
So why did you decide to make that move?
So just playing football, it's like MJ said, we all have our dreams of playing, pro ball. So with that, this is being my last college season. We got looks from as far as professional teams, so just really having time to, go to the combines, those things, really lock into as far as the business aspect of it. I got to finish, as far as my degree, I got to get that done first. And then after that, I'm able to have time to just, pray and, think on the things I need to do as far as in the spring, to get ready for, that opportunity.
And I was reading that you're a history major. Is that right?
Yes.
What is the decision to become a history major?
So I didn't want to do business. So with history, I'm able to see how things will develop. You go back to, John F. Rockefeller and those people like that who made, industries that's still making them money today. And they're dead and gone. So, from there, that's the way I wanted, because I love history. And with that, like, most people be like, "You a history major?" Like, yeah.
I was just wondering. I said, well, what do you want to do with all that? Again, I wouldn't have expected that, because I've always loved history, the way everyone kind of looks at me sideways, like history is so boring. Well, I wasn't good at math and I wasn't good at science, so I had to like something. So I do find that so interesting, because just like you said, that there are things that obviously, because of history, because of people who have made those decisions, that it's still around today, and there's things that are still happening. You see that in Cape May a lot too, that there are generations of families who own businesses that it took one person to start that and to change and to start a whole chain reaction.
Right.
So getting back to the sports aspect, let's talk about your transfer process, deciding that you're going to go to Northwestern Oklahoma. How did that go?
So just with that, more prayer as far as that. Like I didn't know what direction I wanted to go in. So pretty successful at Bethel, and so we had different schools as far as looking, but, just that fit, a team that, I could use as far as my talents or whatever like that, that's comfortable area. It didn't matter the area for me. I go wherever. But, once I got that down, narrowed it down to those schools, like praying and, talking to coaching staffs and stuff like that. But, the portal is, it's crazy. It's a different monster. If you don't know where you are as far as level, it'll eat you alive.
Right.
But, you go from there. We talk to these teams, talk to these schools, whatever like that, send the film. And the coaches at Bethel really helped me as far as like put them out, because, we had some guys leaving. So yeah, we did that, and, found Northwestern, which, team that, they didn't have too much success in the last few years, but, I'm blessed to be there.
Right. And just going throughout that portal process, did you have the same experience going on Twitter and putting your stuff up and saying, yes, here's my video, or was it a little bit different?
Oh, no, it was the
same thing.
Yeah, I'm sending film. You gonna see me.
So do you talk to, are all of these coaches scheduling a phone call with you as well, or is it just strictly through Twitter you're texting?
Some scheduled, because they knew me as far as from Bethel, and they was like, they had contact with my coach. But other than that, it was straight DMs. Coaches like, are you, what team are you looking for? What's your attitude like? Stuff like that. You get a lot of DMs like that.
They're asking you what your attitude is like over text, and not once they don't want to call.
The coaches know, they know who's interested and who's not. They'll go in there, they're like, are you trying to do this or what? They have no time. The portal is full of people.
Yes.
So, if you think you're hired in a program, they're going to notice that, and that'll be the last DM you get from them.
Okay, gotcha. So if that DM goes well, then it's, can we schedule a time to meet? Can we schedule a time to talk?
Right. Yes.
Okay. So you're never going in blindfolded of, oh, this guy just offered me. You're always offered after you talk.
Right. They're going to tell you, have your coaches, some that, coaches are going to tell you everything, to get you there. But, you have your coaches that tell you, straight to the point. We want you to do this. As far as like that, we want you at this program, So it's bittersweet.
And what is it like having to tell your previous team that you're making the decision to enter the transfer portal?
It was a little tough. We had a situation as far as at Bethel where like a lot of our out-of-state guys, we're leaving to go somewhere else, to the coaching staff and those things like that. Our coaching staff left too, so telling them it was it was hard, because we were successful at Bethel, really successful when we got there. So leaving, it was tough, but I knew that wherever God was taking me as far as there, He would bless me in that. He honored that, so He did.
I love that. And transitioning back to your track career,
right.
You mentioned, so it was South Carolina. That was the first time that you started running track.
Yes.
So when you found out about football, who told you, hey, maybe if you want to try to run track too, you can do that?
So track is like really like the base as far as I guess my athletics, from there, because I didn't really like, sports was cool, but I didn't really think about it as far as playing next level anything. So that was the basis as far as everything, track, running it, being, I know you could go to any sport from track. So like just having that base and, speed and everything like that, track was like the best option as far as like that. So knowing that it was cake from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming this is a no, but is there any way that you train your body a little bit differently in terms of track or football?
Right, a lot.
Yeah.
Different.
Okay. Perfect. So can you go into that, and how different is it? What are you doing differently when you're training for a track meet than when you're training for a football game?
So like this past season, football is, it's strictly, you want to gain that weight, you want to gain that mass, be ready as far as for contact. It's a different sport. You got lateral cuts, lateral movements, everything like that. Track is way different. You're losing pounds. You got to lean up before track. So it's just, way different. And, you're sure it helps with conditioning for football.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like your body, you got to gain a few more pounds to go back into the season. You get hit and it's game over.
So you have to, did you, so when you did that, you had to do that every year when you played track. So track was in the spring and then football was in the fall.
Right.
So that whole summer you're training your body to get ready for football, and then that whole winter you're training your body for track and field.
Right.
Okay. So what is the meal plan looking like for each of them?
Me personally, my meal plan is totally different than what you're supposed to do.
Okay.
I eat a lot of candy. But
okay. Besides the candy, what else is there? Is it strict or no?
Sometimes it is. Well, not sometimes, but all the time as far as like that. Like I ate a lot of avocados, potatoes, and stuff like that. That holds your body while you're eating whatever else. Because you're working out more than once a day, more than twice. So you got to really fuel your body. If not, it'll show.
And being a student athlete, how is your schedule like? Do you have a little bit of a gap in the winter where you can relax, or is it just go all the time?
Being a dual sport athlete, it goes. It goes. You just got to make time as far as like, I'm gonna do this at this time. Try to work ahead in your classes and everything like that. You go with your professors, but once the football season is over, I remember we had a game that last game was Saturday. We was at track practice on Monday. You don't have any time. It's just how it is.
And are you sitting there? Is there in terms of track and field and football, like you had mentioned with those meal plans and things like that, is there anything specific that with track you're like, okay, I definitely have to eat this or I definitely have to do this than with football?
Football, you have to watch what you eat as far as being heavy. I mean, track too. But track, I think you can get away with a little bit more if you like, fluids and everything like that. Football, you really have to pay attention to what you put in your body. The more drink you eat, the more slow you'll be. And it was so.
And we talked about it with LSU, with MJ, that there was this strict schedule that people were coming in the classroom and saying, are you in class? And Brian Kelly's being very strict. Right. How does that differ from the D2 level? Are you making your own schedule, or are there people who are saying, here, if you space it out like this could help you greatly in terms of time management?
Right. I think D2, you have more freedom as far as like that. So they'll give you a plan, but it's up to you. You got the free will to follow it or not. So you have, your written plan. I can go to my professor this time. I think, the more D1s, like they make sure that you follow it. D2, they give you the free will to do it. They're gonna show you how, but if you utilize it, it's up to you.
Right, which is so different. Where, like you said, the freedom, but someone like you is likely using that and saying, "Yeah, sure," and then someone else might not use that. So that's what makes it a little bit difficult. That somebody says, "Oh, well, I don't need to do this. I can just do whatever I want."
Right.
So I'll ask you the same thing with the NIL. Have you seen NIL affect the D2 level at all?
Right. Yeah.
So how can you go into depth about that? About what have you seen that's changed the game since you started, which NIL was not around when you started, is that right? No, so how have you seen that change from when you started to now where players and athletes can make money?
Right. D1 level, I think is way different. D2, it just makes everyone hungry. So, my school where I'm at now, our conference, we have the D2 national champs in it. So they get money as far as like NILs and stuff like that. And that's, D2, you fight a little harder for those things. So now that they have it, you want to work, do whatever you can to get a cut of it. So like I think it fuels more fuel to your fire, or like that. You know, you fighting with your teams for, of course, for records and championships. But now it's another thing. You know, you want to add some more money to your belt.
And do you think there's players that are saying, okay, if I go here and I do well at this school, then I can transfer and possibly make more NIL and things like that?
Right.
Yeah.
I think, you know, you have a lot of players like that. You know, I think it's getting away from, you know, as far as being out of school and competing for championships more so maybe, you know, competing for money. And that's understandable in a case where, you know, it's a love for the game or, you know, love for, you know, finances. So it's different.
Right. In Oklahoma, what sort of NIL deals are there?
A lot of the car dealerships.
Okay.
A lot of, so they got, you know, Canes. They have different like small, well not small, but it's chains of restaurants and stuff like that. So they, you know, throw out a lot of NILs. The guys, you know, we have a few guys that so we're just now introducing NIL as far as at Northwestern. So I don't know how, you know, once we get back, we'll disperse it. So I don't know.
Right, because I know my friend plays college football up north in Rhode Island, and I think he made about $13 worth of NIL over the last 4 months. And I was like, "You're buying dinner, thanks." We were at a Yankee game. I was like, "Yeah, Matt, that's great." But that's what I think. They had to send out. You can tell me, maybe it's like this, where at least for their school, they were sending out text messages. So my friend said, just please sign up for this. Don't donate anything. It's fine. And I was like, yeah, I'm a college student. Maybe in 5 years, hit me back up again and I'll do it. But is it like that where, okay, send out this link and see who can donate?
Right. Yeah. It's like that. You know, we had a thing during the season as far as like, I guess, preparing for the NIL thing. And, you know, we looked at it. We was like, what is this? You know, we sending it out. I'm sending it out to my mom. I was like, Mom, just send this out to people. If they donate, they donate. You know, if not, God bless.
Right. Exactly. That's what my friend said. He was like, oh, it's okay. But then it all got split up that I guess you don't necessarily get what everybody donates in your name. So it's all split up. So that's why it was split up between, in my friend's case, like 100 players or however many, whatever, something like that. That's why he got his fancy $13. So I was like, hey, any bit helps. If you're getting money and you weren't getting that money before, I was like, look, let's just say. Exactly. That's what I mean. I was like, we were at the Yankee game when we were going. So I said, all right, so you could, it will be half of what we're probably going to order just because, yeah, you know, being from Brooklyn, that New York, the Yankee games are so expensive. But other than that, I was like, it is fun to see, especially someone who, again, like my friend, I watched him play high school football and things like that, hey, you're able to make money off of something that you've done for years and something you're finally getting deserving of. So let's talk about the whole protection aspect for a little bit. I don't know if you've ever had concussions, or I'm sure you've had some injuries playing at the college football level. Possibly not. I was like, God is good if not, but usually that's unavoidable. So what does the rehabilitation process look like for you?
So 2021, I tore my first year at Bethel. I tore my ACL and MCL, and that was my first injury ever playing football. So you know, it was a big deal for me. So that was tough, but the rehab and everything was great. I did a lot of my rehab at K-State, so a lot of water rehab as far as like prevention, you know, plyos, things to, you know, injury prevention. So you doing a lot of awkward movements and stuff like that. So they really put time into getting players back on the field. That's what I love. You know, Bethel is an NAIA level. Sorry about that. But you know, you go from there. They make sure you get back. You know, able to get back. You know, before the season. You know, and have time to, you know, get comfortable again and playing football. So yeah, that was great.
How was the whole mental process going through that injury?
It was tough. You know, I say this. You know, if you don't have God, you know, that's a real shot in the foot. Because, you know, there's days where it's harder than others, but you have a strong faith in knowing that I got a foundation and knowing that God will take care of it. And that was what mentally got me through it. Because it was, you know, you think you have so many thoughts. Like, will I be able to play again? You know, will this affect how I play and stuff like that? And a lot of those thoughts were going, but, you know, you choose to acknowledge what God is doing instead of whatever is happening in your head. That's what really helped me.
When Saquon Barkley tore his ACL a few years ago, I know that the big question was that it's probably going to take him a year to really feel like himself again. And many football players have said that. Did you feel that same way?
Oh, yeah. That maybe I think it took me close to a year because getting on the field is one thing, but getting comfortable and being back into your, people say your bag, you get comfortable enough to play again like that at that level. So it takes some time, but once you do it, it's there. It's just there. You kind of hesitant about like, can I do this still and stuff like that, but taking contact, everything. So it's different.
And you're playing in that year too, trying to fight that off mentally as well as saying maybe I'm okay again and things like that. And do you think it was more of a mental type of thing that is something going to happen, or was it in your knee too that you were like, it just doesn't feel like it used to?
Right. I think it was straight mental. Like the rehab and everything I did, my knee was totally fine. But just going on the field, as far as you scared to get retorn, you got high expectations as far as playing at a higher level. So these coaches expect a lot out of you. So you got to play at that level or higher. You go on all of that. You got people, I was told to wear a brace and stuff like that, and I know like people go straight for the brace. Those things. You think about it, and, it's not. It's all mental. Once you get past that, you're fine.
And you had mentioned about combines and things of that nature. Right. After, what does that look like for you within the next few months?
Got a CFL combine in March, so that's gonna be cool. Got to go to Canada. Got a few things, preparing. I don't know which, either be NFL or CFL, whatever opportunity it is. But God is really good.
Yeah, that would be so fun. I know I interviewed Cam Lewis, a former LSU football player. Now he's in the CFL. So I'm always like, yeah, I interviewed a CFL player, just so you guys know. But it really is. And both leagues are rapidly growing. I feel like even the XFL is rapidly growing. I don't think it's called the XFL anymore, but that league is rapidly growing as well. Oh, I'm sorry. Cam Lewis is in the XFL, not the CFL. But still something to brag about, at least for me. I was like, oh yeah. No, but I'm kidding. But truthfully, those leagues rapidly going. Again, we talked about it a little earlier with social media too, that there's so much access for these leagues to grow, for sure. But just in the future, I'll ask this before we get into a little trivia timeout. What does the future look like for you?
The future is bright. God has really, been elevating me in those things. I have, guidance as far as that. I didn't grow up in a family that knew about sports, but blessed me with brotherhoods as far as like that with MJ. He's helped me with a lot, as far as going into this past season, going into this next season, giving me knowledge on it. So we'll be playing pro ball somewhere.
Now, did you all meet by football, or that's how you all met?
It's a funny story how we met. I don't know if you want me to tell
Sure.
it.
We have time.
So we're at practice at Northwestern, and they're passing through town, and he's on the field, and somebody told me he's from Jersey. So me, like I'm a New Yorker, so we, I walk past, we handle him. MJ's like 6'5". I'm a shorter athlete. So I walk past him, everybody like, talking to him. I'm like, you from Jersey? Yeah, Jersey stinks. And I walked off.
Typical New Yorker.
So then after that, I walked off, and to this day, like there's not been a day where we don't do.
That's that is such a New York way to become friends with someone. That's actually great. Yeah. All right, well then I'll ask you, what about the pizza? Can you eat it in Oklahoma?
Oh no.
No.
That's like eating soul food at a Chinese
food. Can you eat Papa John's?
I'll go to pizza.
Oh,
Papa John's is ashy.
Oh, goodness. Those are both horrible. Oh, goodness. Okay, well, trivia timeout. With the Olympics coming up in July, we'll connect this a little bit with track and field. I'm going to ask you a few questions. You're a history major, actually, so you might really know this. I did not connect the history part. All right, I'm going to ask you, first question, what year was the first Olympic race?
Ooh, first Olympic race.
First one ever. It was way before civilization, if that helps. Any guesses? Anytime.
I'm not going to shoot for it because I might sound crazy.
Just some guess.
I'm saying got to be like 1800s.
Hey, no, you see, no, it wasn't. I know. MJ is still here, and he was trying to show Julian, but you're wrong. It was 776 BC. That was the first ever track race.
I promise you,
Athens.
I'll never.
I'm almost positive it was in Athens. Yes, because the Roman Empire took over later. Athens, Greece. That was the first ever one. That was the first ever sport. All right, next one. Nobody look it up. Oh, you might know this one too, because this was a little bit more recent. The fastest 100-meter race ever was run by Usain Bolt. How fast did he do it?
It was a 9.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You got the 9 part. 2 more numbers.
9. I know it was lower than. It had to be a 9.4 or something. 9.5.
Yeah, 958. 958. Yes. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. All right. Last one that has nothing to do with track and field or football, but has to do with the Olympics.
Right.
One of these used to be an Olympic sport. Which one was it? Was it tug of war or was it tag? One of them was
It had to be tug of war.
Yeah, okay. It was tug of war, I'll admit. I was doing this late at night and I tried to think of another game and I couldn't, but it was tug of war, which I had no clue, along with hot air ballooning. That was just some of the few. Tug of war was an Olympic sport from 1900 to 1920, and you could enter multiple clubs. So in 1904, the U.S. won all 3 medals, and then in 1906, it was Great Britain. So
That's crazy.
You did pretty good, though.
That's crazy.
I would say you got the second one, so that was pretty good. And no, you got the third one too. So you went 2 for 3. That was pretty impressive. I'll give that to you. So you know your history. All right, Julian, thank you so much for coming on and joining with me today. I really wish you the best in all your future endeavors.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. And just to wrap this up, we're going to quickly go into our next segment of Social Scoreboard. We do this one every week. So as you Philly fans have known, and we're probably quite excited about, Paul George was traded to the 76ers earlier this week. He signed a 4-year, $212 million maximum contract with the Philadelphia 76ers. So let's see what social media had to say about this trade, specifically on X. This is coming in at number 3. So obviously, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and Paul George, they will all be playing together. And at Wit Collector said, it will be interesting to see if all 3 of these can to see if they can coexist effectively. As a Nets fan, I 100% agree, because that did not happen with the big 3 in Brooklyn. So it will be interesting to see, can the Sixers finally get over the hump and win a championship with 34-year-old Paul George, which they're probably going to have to do quite quickly, or will it be a difficult path for them? Coming in at number 2, I like Seinfeld. I love watching Seinfeld. I know I'm only 20, but I really like watching 90s shows and sitcoms. So somebody said on Twitter, at Jeff McDev, Paul George is a 76er. If you watch Seinfeld, it's the Summer of George. The Summer of George is on. Hit the Action News theme song. So that was a reel of Paul George behind with the Action News theme song, and of course the Summer of George GIF. It was Yankees bobblehead night last night on Friday. They had George, the traveling secretary, as one of the bobbleheads. I thought I was going to be able to go, but didn't. But that's another fun fact there. They're selling for a couple $100 now on eBay and Amazon. I looked this morning. Anyway, coming in at number 1, the U.S. men's basketball are starting to train for the Olympics. Kawhi Leonard will be there. At Khalil the King said, the U.S. men's basketball, as they posted on Twitter, said, Kawhi Leonard arrives for USA camp. At Khalil the King said, he is about to find out Paul George went to the 76ers. If you know anything about Kawhi Leonard, he does not have social media. Nobody knew he had a wife and kids until he won a championship. And then he would say, this is my wife, this is my kids, just because he's not that active on social media. So that was just a little joke in there that maybe he did really find that out about at the USA camp. And unless somebody maybe texted him and said, hey, by the way, yeah, your teammate is gone and he's going to go on the East Coast to play for the 76ers. Anyway, that wraps up Social Scoreboard. Thank you so much to our 2 special guests here on the Beachside Blitz today, MJ Frazier and Julian Jackson. Be sure to tune in again on Saturday, same time, 4 p.m. next week. This has been the Beachside Blitz. I am your host, Patricia Caputo, and you are listening to Cape May Radio WCFA 101.5 FM, the radio station for the Center of Community Arts, Cape May.